All right, today's video, we're going to be talking about personal property and what's included with the sale. Stick around. Coming up in 3, 2, 1. All right, welcome back to the YouTube channel. I'm Jason with Greater Nixa Homes, and on this channel, we talk about all things real estate from Nixa down to Branson. So if you're new here, consider subscribing. So how do you know what's included with the sale? Well, ultimately, what's in the contract overrides everything. And so that's the key takeaway for this video, is what's in the contract is what stands. So that's what you need to know, is if you have specific things that you want to buy from the seller that are apart from the real estate. So let's just maybe define real estate being that anything that is a part of the land, that's attached to the land, the home and the structure that is on the concrete foundation would be considered part of the real estate, and anything attached to that home. If generally understood, if it's attached, it's supposed to stay. But let's talk about some other things like the curtains. A lot of sellers will vacate a property and leave the curtains. But if you have a home and a home that is not vacant, and the seller has some really expensive curtains that they want to take with them, it's generally a good idea. And this is good practice for me when I sit down with sellers, and I try to go over this with them of what are you wanting to convey over to the buyers. Are the blinds, definitely they're attached to the windows, but like curtains, the curtain hardware that is holding the curtain rods will stay. That is considered what we call a fixture. But the curtain rod and the drapes are not. And so you just need to clarify, if the sellers want to take it with them, we put that in what we call a list of reserve items. And we clarify that to other agents in the MLS so that they know if they're wanting to take that with them. Also, if you've got like a chandelier that you spent, $10,000 on, it's a custom chandelier, it's attached to the ceiling, right? Well, a lot of buyers may walk right in and be like, oh my gosh, I love that chandelier. If it's got historical value or, something, it confuses a lot of buyers. I think that it's supposed to stay with the home, but from the listing agent usually needs to have clear communication with the seller about any probably fixtures that would definitely be assumed to be staying, but they're going to be taking them with them. You're going to be removing them from the attached ceiling, right? In this particular case, a chandelier. Sheds. This is a big one here in Southwest Missouri. Sheds are portable for the most part, unless you got like electric running to the property and it's become like an appurtenance, if it's doesn't have a foundation. But a lot of these sheds that come on a forklift were delivered to the property and set down, and they can be just as easily removed. I've done some deals where a shed has mysteriously, disappeared from the backyard once we closed on the house. I mean, it wasn't written in anywhere that it was supposed to be included, so be careful with that. Lawnmowers. Buyers fall in love with lawnmowers, especially if you're buying 3 to 5 acre property. The seller obviously probably has a riding lawnmower. They may be moving to another 3 to 5 acre property somewhere else and may need that lawnmower. But I can't tell you how many times buyers just assume that they're gonna get the lawnmower included with it because it was in the listing photo, or that it was in the garage, or it was sitting out back and there's a bunch of weeds growing up over it. They're probably not gonna use it. It's probably gonna stay with the property. If you want it, get it in writing and put it in the contract. We have a space on our forms that specifically will let you write out any other personal property that's going to be included with the sale. And here's where it gets a little tricky. If you're getting a loan, lenders aren't going to loan you money on a bunch of personal property. So it's usually best to avoid any deals falling apart over a refrigerator or over a chandelier or something else. Decide on what you, as the buyer, are willing to pay for that the real estate itself, aside from all the other personal property. Get that number down, get that negotiated and settled on, and then pay, separately outside of closing for the personal property. It just makes things 100 times simpler. So trust me on this. Get that separated from the contract. Lenders don't want to see that on the contract anyway. If you're needing to get a loan, they don't want to see a bunch of personal property that is also to be included, unless you write in some special language in there that says like at no additional value or at no additional cost or something along those lines, then maybe underwriters will let that go. But if you're talking about like a whole bunch of stuff, the appliances, the furniture, the decor, the electronics and the lamps and everything else that goes inside the house, if it's basically just the seller's clothing that they're taking with them and their toothbrush and whatnot, and you're getting everything else, it can get kind of tricky if you don't have a lender that knows, especially in the case of buying a vacation rental. You know, if they haven't written a lot of these contracts or seen a lot of these contracts come across their desk with a lot of furnishings in them, it can really throw things off when it comes to the appraisal and the underwriters. So just keep that in mind. When you're walking through a house, you generally want, I'm looking at a lot of these things for you. You're looking at how big the bedrooms are, you know, the view and whatnot. I'm also looking at things that probably need to be specified in the contract to make sure that I communicate with you. Pool table, you're gonna want to take that. I'm looking in the MLS to see if the agent has, you know, listed the washer, dryer, and refrigerator, the top 3 things that are to be included with the sale, and ask them if they even want them. Just because the seller's offering it to them, the buyer may not want them. So that's some other things to think about too. But generally on the sell side, you want to just be very crystal clear with what's being conveyed as far as the personal property that you'd be willing to sell. Make a whole list of things that could be negotiated outside of the sale after you've decided on the purchase price of the house. That makes things so much simpler. So one last thing also that I wanted to cover was like surround sound speakers. You've got 2 different situations where you've got maybe like flush speakers that are already built in, custom speakers that are built into the walls. And of course, those are gonna stay. But you also have like aftermarket, like Bose stereo systems that are like on clips that are attached to the wall. They could very easily take the speakers off of the clips and unwire them if they want to take them on to the sellers can take those on with them to the next property. Just some other things that you want to ask your agent to communicate with the sellers what their intention is. Are they going to leave it? Do you even want it? You know, it goes across all aspects of personal property. Is if there's a question about it or if you're concerned about it, put it in writing. All right, one last little thing, and then I'll leave this one alone. I know we said we were done, but I just remembered this is a big one here. Propane. Propane gas is very common here in our neck of the woods, and it is considered personal property. So if you're buying a house that is, the propane tank is owned by the seller, any gas that's in there does not automatically convey over to you as the buyer. They paid for it up front, but they didn't use it, right? The sellers. And so the title company, when they're divvying out debits and credits on the closing statement, they're going to ask, you know, how much remaining gas is in there right before close. So find out how much propane gas is in there. And then whatever the current rate is going for that propane, they'll charge the buyers for it. So if you have a good buyer's agent representing you, they should be asking these questions. And then like when I'm representing my buyers, I always write in there a propane tank, and in case it's leased, propane tank and any remaining contents of the tank to convey to buyer at no additional cost. That way you're protected. You get to keep whatever amount of gas is left in there, and then you can fill it up later whenever it comes wintertime. All right, that's gonna wrap it up for this video. Personal property can be a real headache if you let it get in the way. So just make sure you're very crystal clear about what it is that you really are wanting to include with your purchase or have paid outside of closing. So I hope that helps. Anyway, that's the end of this video. I'm gonna leave it right there for this one. Man, this was a lot to get out, and I hope you guys are enjoying the content. Let me know down in the comments if you wanna see some other specific videos, some topics that you want me to cover here, and I'll be happy to read those, and we'll get them cranked out here in the next month. I hope you guys had a great turkey day. Got lots of stuffing and football and all that good stuff. Enjoyed some time with family. I'm Jason with Greater Nixa Homes, and I will see you in the next video. Take care.